Hello and welcome to another installment of the APB recap. As usual, I'll be recapping most of the significant events that happened last week, but not all of the petty and insignificant events that I'd rather not give too much attention to. And also, there'll be a lot more swearing and cursing and all that on the stream, so if you want me at my purest and rawest form, you can check out the streams on my stream channel, link down below, go subscribe. And of course, before we get started, huge thanks to my patrons and donators. You can support this channel by checking the links down below, but the best way to support this channel is through my stream at Saturday 7 p.m. Eastern Time. Live and direct shout out, donate to Stream Elements, links down below. Just as our last stream ended, the Oscars was running, and I don't really care about it, to be honest. The only reason I knew that the Oscar was a thing is because Chris Rock got slapped by Will Smith.
Keep my wife's name out your
That's it. That's the only thing I found mildly entertaining in the Oscars. I don't really care on who's in the right and wrong. I'll reserve that discussion to literally anyone else. I just find it funny that a slap is the one thing that really invigorates the Oscars, because prior to this point, no one really cares about the Oscars. There are loads and loads of memes being posted about this event on social media. Even my coworkers are memeing about this. You can discuss about the nuance of the entire event, but I just like to turn off my brain and laugh. Speaking of turning my brain off and laugh, the Oscars official tweet got ratioed by none other than DSP. They got ratioed by DSP. Another thing that the Oscars got a lot of backlash for is towards the animated awards, and yeah, I can see why. It's not the nominees or the winner that people are pissed about, it's the jabs that the presenters make. Animation is a medium enjoyed by children and merely tolerated by adults. Yeah, I can see where the backlash is coming from. It's really not help when it's Amy Schumer presenting it, and I'd rather not assault your visual senses with her looks. Animation these days have the power to be both for kids and adults. There's stuff that kids and even adults might find enjoyable in kids animation these days. Heck, I just watched Sonic 2. Not lying, Sonic the Hedgehog 2. I watched Sonic 2 right after the stream. The first one is awesome, and the second one is everything that I wanted and more. The climax is incredibly satisfying. The action is so great. And that mid-credit teaser. Oh man, I am so excited. A lot of movies are made for children these days, and they have a little bit of touches of adult themes and struggles that make it more complex and mature than it seems to be. And even if it's just purely kid stuff in it, there are still stuff that are fun and entertaining. Surprise, surprise, most adults used to be children. I watched like most of the nominees in this roundup, and I think they're pretty good. I've never seen Flea. I don't know what that is. I don't know what the movie is about. But Encanto is really good. I can see why people love it. Mitchell's vs. the Machine is pretty entertaining. Luca is surprisingly enjoyable and underappreciated in my opinion. The movie is very 90s Disney, and I love it. Raya... Okay, Raya can suck it. That movie's trash. If you want Raya, but better in every way, check out Kenna Bridge of Spirits. That game is an infinitely better Southeast Asian rap by the West than Raya can ever be. Seriously. Seriously, just listen to the soundtrack. So good. I'm the kind of person who is open to all sorts of entertainment. There's stuff that I'm into, but there are stuff that I'm also not into. The Simpsons, for example, I gave it a try, not my thing. South Park, gave it a try, not my thing. Family Guy, gave it a try, not my thing. I can see why people love them. I can also see why people find watching things they don't enjoy as something that they have to endure. But I also think that if you're going to present an award like this, at least pretend to be appreciative. Isn't that what you actors do? Pretend? Isn't that what the Oscars is supposed to be about? Rewarding you for being able to pretend to be something else? But then again, I'm kind of tired trying to prove to the boomers on the notion that animation isn't just for kids. And I'm using actual kids animation as my examples. Imagine if I use something more hardcore, like Jinro the Wolf Brigade, Persepolis, Princess Mononoke, or Invincible. But hey, animation is just for kids. We're just gonna keep on saying it because we're a bunch of boomers. Ghostwire's Tokyo's authentic representation makes a mockery of Ghost of Tsushima and Sifu's cultural tourism. Oh my god, I thought we've established this already. Just because a video game is made by developers who aren't white doesn't mean that the video game is inauthentic. But hey, apparently according to your people, that doesn't really matter. What matters is if the developers are truly from the countries that they represent in. One of the issues that's being raised is how Sucker Punch and Slow Clap seems to be thinking of representing cinema first rather than the actual culture itself.
I missed the part where that's my problem.
Oh, God forbid that they represent elements of things that are entertaining in a fictional media that's supposed to entertain people. But no, video games have to be as accurate to the cultural source as possible, even though the game is not meant to be as accurate to the cultural source as possible. The final part of this article is where the writer says one of the most bewildering things that I have ever heard in the last couple of weeks. I hope Ghostwire gets the audience it deserves, but I fear it will ultimately be sidelined as a niche, much like Yakuza. Hold on a second, writer. Yakuza! Niche. Yakuza! Niche! The writer then compared Ghost of Tsushima's open world to Assassin's Creed 2? That's just factually incorrect. And I love Assassin's Creed 2. There's also another part where the writer puts words on the Yakuza creators' mouth. When Toshihiro Nagoshi said how Ghost of Tsushima is the kind of work made by non-Japanese people that makes you feel they're even more Japanese than us, the writer just put his own words onto his mouth and said, I think he meant to say people who have bigger budgets and resources than us. But hey, I'm no translator. Wow.
Get your crackhead ass into some rehab.
And the thing is, I was rather interested with Ghostwire Tokyo. I think the game looks fantastic. I'm not gonna buy it day one or anything like that, but the game does look nice. Then there are screenshots of the game that revealed that some of the game's translations were really butchered. At one line, the Chinese version says, the world belongs to the people. The Japanese version says, who knows really? Then the English version says, oh. The English version actually caused me allergies. All property is theft, kid? Really?
How high are you?
No idea why they changed it to that way, but hey, add this to the list of nonsensical translations, I guess. The game is available now, but if you're interested, it's also available in the 7 Seas. My disdain towards Square Enix is no secret to a lot of people. I've lost subs because of that, and I don't really care, because I've lost subs anyway. And I don't like Square Enix. I think they're a mixed bag of a company, but a lot of times, it's always more negatives than positives. The only reason why Square is still okay in a lot of people's eyes is that they're among the few Japanese companies that actually do care about preserving their old titles, even if their attempts aren't always the best. But unlike Nintendo, where they're still capable of making really good stuff, Square is losing their touch. Babylon's Fall was absolutely dreadful. Neo Twewi didn't generate a lot of buzz and sales. Their Marvel stuff was horrendously average at best. And if we want to go even further, Remake 7 isn't that great. And I will still maintain that opinion. It's really not helped when people found out about their ethics department and people are really pissed. So what happens is when Square decides to censor a bunch of stuff, they will do their best to make sure that the censorship isn't noticeable at all. So if the game got censored gets a lot of praise, it feels like the people who censored them are the ones getting the praise for their work, or at least according to one of their employees in the ethics department. I'm not surprised about this at all. I've seen this coming miles away. Heck, this is practically old news. It's only recent because they made recent posts about it. I've criticized them before in the past and I've told people about this, and yet people keep on insisting to cover their ears because they made stuff that people like. And that's the thing. Nier Automata, one of my favorite games, but even so, just because I love their games doesn't mean their company isn't bad. Square Enix is bad, guys, and it's getting worse and worse as time goes on. I've told you this many times before, and you people refuse to listen to it, so hopefully this will be a wake-up call to all of you. Otherwise, keep on buying their stuff and be disappointed that they're gonna screw it up again. And speaking of big companies doing horrible things, Nintendo is back in the news again because they decided to do the one thing that they are best at: copyright striking. Is anyone really surprised at this point? Nintendo's amazing copyright striking spree continues, and this time it's not YouTube videos or game musics. This time, it's game guides. Really old game guides as well. There's a game guide for Super Mario 64 which actually contains some really interesting dioramas of their levels. The book isn't available to be purchased for decades, so this is pretty much one of the few ways for you to be able to acquire the books. And yet here it is, the Nintendo legal team doing their best to copyright strike something that is so old, so arbitrary, and so out of print, they might as well be protecting their leftover pokies for all the good it did. Unfortunately, I'm trying to find a soft copy of the guidebook in the usual channels and I just seem to be unable to find it. There are loads of guides on Mario 64 anyway, so at least you're not missing too much other than the official Nintendo stamp, which at this point might as well say, if you dare to preserve this, our lawyer's gonna strike your ass. Hey guys, do you want another installment of PlayStation being a censorious Puritan? Well, don't you worry, because we got another installment for you. So this user over here decides to post screenshots of the game Guilty Gear Strive featuring Baiken. It just so happens that in the screenshot, she got some really nice racks. Base Arc System work, seriously. The OP posted the screenshot through PS4's share feature, but then their account got suspended for a week. That's right, ladies and gentlemen. Their account got suspended for a week for posting a screenshot of a video game. A video game that is approved by Sony themselves and is out on the PS4. Sony, the game is already in your platform. It's been out since last year. How can this get past your department?
Congratulations, you played yourself.
But hey, don't you worry, ladies and gentlemen, because PlayStation got more offers for you. So remember how Sony decides to just remove a lot of the PS3, Vita, and PSP games off of the stores? Well, guess where they're putting all of those? They're putting all of those in a brand new PS Plus subscription service tiers. In other words, more ways for them to screw you up as consumers. So you got the Essential PS Plus, which lets you to have cloud saves, online multiplayer, 2 monthly downloadable games, yada yada yada, basic PS Plus stuff, $10 monthly, $60 yearly. More ways for you to get ripped off, but hey, it gets worse. The next tier is PS Plus Extra, all the benefits of the previous one plus a couple more, such as 400 PS4 and PS5 games. It's basically a Game Pass, all for the price of $15 monthly and $100 yearly. But wait! It gets worse! The final tier here is PS Plus Premium, where you get all of those benefits plus 340 additional games for the PS3, PS2, PS1, and PSP. Sounds pretty amazing if it weren't for two things. One, they charge you $18 monthly and $120 yearly for the privilege of playing classic games. I mean, what a way to introduce the younger generations to the classics. More and more restrictions. And two, even if you get all of that, they're not even emulated within the machines. They're cloud stream games. That's right, you got all the benefits and disadvantages of PS Now with this subscription tier list. What a great way to rip off consumers, Sony. And all of this at the top of the amount of censorship that you keep on doing to all sorts of games, ranging from anime games to horror games, and even then, you're not doing a good job considering how some games just manage to slip past you with the glorious boobs and all of that. Arc System Works, absolutely bless you, seriously. Sony, get bent! And finally, this is just one of the many examples in how Japanese games can succumb into the global standards. There's a fighting game series called Goketsuji, also known as Power Instincts. This is a fighting game that has existed ever since the SNES era. Their first game was in 1993, and there's been more and more games since then. The 30th anniversary revival was proposed to the copyright holder of the game, but it was not approved because a certain character has a risk for backlash on political correctness, and there will be potential lawsuits for it. Potential lawsuits? Yeah, as if these moral guardians are gonna go so far as lawsuits. Just saying, these people never go to lawsuits because they will all lose. Imagine trying to sue a company because your feelings are hurt. This is indeed a harrowing prospect for niche games like this, but it does make me wonder on who the copyright holders are for this series. So I looked the game up and I found out who developed and published it. And let me tell you, I was shook. I was truly, genuinely surprised. It's Atlus. Of course, it's Atlus. Like, why am I even surprised at this moment? This is one of the many reasons why Atlus is among one of my crap lists as of late. Don't get me wrong, their games are fantastic, but they do have the tendency of milking the crap out of their games. That still hasn't changed. even to this day. And putting all that aside, they also have the tendency of censoring their games or changing elements of their games so that it's more politically correct. We've seen this with Persona 5 Royale, where they changed the dialogues. We've seen this with Tokyo Mirage Sessions, where together with Nintendo, they censored the outfits. We've seen this in Catherine Full Body, where they straight up removed dialogues. We've seen this even as far as Persona 3 Portable, where they also removed dialogues from the FES version. I talk about these things before. Atlus has been doing this for decades now. I've told people that as you get more and more mainstream, as you get more and more global, you're gonna need to appeal to more and more audiences, as you're gonna need to offend the least amount of people. Atlus is one of those companies that have steered into that direction. As game developers, they're excellent, but they made their stance very clear. They prefer appealing to as many people as possible, even if they have to change or censor as many things as possible. I just realized that I've been criticizing Japanese companies as of late. Good, because Japanese companies aren't always your savior from the PC culture of the West. People need to wake up and realize that they do make excellent products. They do. A lot more times than the West. But there are times where they have to release them to the global market and they have to appeal to Western sensibilities. Absolute nonsense if you ask me, but hey, that's what they think that they have to do in order to appeal to the global market. Thankfully, the ones that are pulling this kind of stuff are the usual suspects like Square, Atlus, Sony, Nintendo. Big corporations just doing the worst crap, seriously. These are the kind of moves that I totally expect from them, and I've been telling people about them many times at this point, and every single time, you still got naysayers and the fanboys of these companies telling me that they're great. Oh yes, they still can make great games, even if they remove content from them. Catherine Full Body, great gameplay-wise, even with the censored dialogues. You can still find the games enjoyable, even with the censored content, but don't ever deny that the censorship happens. It does. It happens. It's provable. It's factual. And the games have been straight up cancelled because of the censorship, because of the political correct climate that we're living in the West, in the global market entirely. That's all for the video today. If you like it, you can go ahead and click the like button and subscribe for more. If you wish, you can support me through the channel links down below, stream channel link down below, go subscribe, donate to Stream Elements, and thanks for watching.